Morning, everybody. Mr. Enyard here. Today is Wednesday, and this is week 28. So I had to come upstairs because my kids are being like crazy loud downstairs. Anyway, hope you're having a good time, and let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to message me on Schoology, and I will talk to you later.
Okay, Wednesday, week 28, interquartile range. Remember, that is the range within the quartiles. This is all we care about. And we're doing 11.5 minus 7.5, which of course is just going to give you 4. For number 2, this time they gave us a box plot and a really weird typo. Okay. So here's what these mean. Okay, this is a 5. This is a 10. Not that you would know this. And this is a 15. And who knows what these things are. But what we are going to say is you'll notice there's only 3 visible numbers. And we don't know what the biggest number is or what the lowest number is. So I'm going to say that 5 is quartile 1 and that 15 is quartile 3. And to find the interquartile range, we would do 15 minus 5. So if you didn't get this one, who cares? It's fine. Just make sure you understand that to find interquartile range, it's quartile 3 minus quartile 1. And this box plot, again, will be in another video that talks about interquartile range, talks about MAD, and it talks about box plots. I mentioned that on Monday, I believe. Okay, so you guys have all taken the MAPS test or some sort of test, and you've wondered, how many questions are on this? Well, if there was some sort of, like, let's say, progress bar, and it said, you are 80% done with the assignment, and you're on question 16. So you're not done with the test, which means there's more than 16 questions, right? 80% is less than a whole. It's 80 out of 100. The question is how many assignments. So there's 3 ways we've talked about. I'm going to zoom in down here and go over them. First one is the cross multiplication that they've been trying to get you to understand. So you set up your part to whole relationship on top and bottom. Okay, 16 is the part and x is the whole. And now we're just going to cross multiply. 80 times x is 16 times 100. So 80x equals 1600. Now you would just divide by 80 on both sides, and that would cancel those out. You can take a 0 off. So you really got 160 divided by 8, which is going to be 20. So x would equal 20. On this one, if it's a fraction or a percentage that can be easily simplified into a fraction, like we should know 80% is 4/5, right? This is on that chart I gave you on the video that said percent conversions to decimals. And 4/5 is a pretty simple one. So 4/5 is equal to 16 of something. We can now just use the rule of equivalent fractions, that both numbers being multiplied by the same factor will give you an equivalent fraction. So 4 times 4 is 16, and therefore I'm going to do 5 times 4, and I'll get x, which is 20. And the last method, of course, is the tape diagram method. We draw a rectangle, then I use the 4/5, the 80%, because I know that 100% is total, divided by 5, gives me 20, 40, 60, 80. Goes by 20s. And so that gives me 5 equal pieces. And now at 80%, I draw 16 on the bottom, because it said that 80% of the test, he was at question 16. We don't know the total. And so now I just recognize that, hey, 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces equals 16. So 16 divided by 4 would tell me what each piece is. And since in a tape diagram, all pieces are the same, that last one's 4 as well. And now I recognize I just have 5 groups of 4 here. So I can simply work the question 5 times 4, which you'll notice I did there. And that gives me that x equals 20. Don't care what method you use, as long as it makes sense to you and you can figure out a total from a percentage and where you're at.
So on this problem, I'm going to use keep, change, flip, which is our little mnemonic device to remember that if you multiply by the reciprocal, it's the same as dividing. So you'll notice I just flipped the second number after converting these to improper fractions by multiplying the denominator and the whole number and adding the numerator all over the same denominator. So 17/6 divided by 9/5 is the exact same problem as you see here. But now I'm going to do 17/6 times 5/9. So I just flipped the second number, making it its reciprocal. And then I did the opposite operation, which is going to give me the same answer. And so now, in my mind, it's easier math, because 17 times 5 is 15 times 5 plus 2 times 5, which is 75 plus 10, so it's 85. And then that's going to be over 6 times 9, which is a basic fact of 54. And now I just try to simplify. And I get 1 and 31 54ths. And as far as I can tell, 31 and 54 do not have a lowest common or greatest common factor besides 1, which isn't going to change it. So I'm going to go with that. So there's lots of ways to solve for this one. But 8 times something is 40. We know that P is 5, right? So that's kind of a duh. But we could also divide both sides by 8, right? If you divide 8 by a multiplication problem of 8, right, in this 8 times P, they cancel out, making it 1P or just the P. But that means I also have to divide 40 by 8, and 40 divided by 8 is 5. And that is the balancing equation method. And this question gives us every bit of information we need. It told us to find the area of the square. So if it's a square, that means we have rules. It means all sides are equal. So our length and our width are 9 feet. And remember, the formula for area of a square or a rectangle is length times width with a square. All right, if you want to do area of a square to be more specific, you could do the width or the length, right? Or you know what? Let's call it a side. Let's just say a side squared. Isn't that what 9 times 9 is? Isn't that 9 squared? Right, 9 times 9. So our area is going to be 81, and then our label, what are we multiplying? What are we squaring? We're squaring feet. Feet squared. So again, area of a rectangle is going to be length times width, right? And this is a rectangle, so I can't do side squared because it's different size sides. But we have a whole number, and this is a half. It's just very blurry. But 7 times 3, right? I can take the whole number times the whole number. I can't do this necessarily with like whole number, 2 mixed numbers. I can do this with a whole number and a mixed number. But really what's happening is I'm doing 7.5 3 times, which means I'm doing 7 3 times, and then I'm going to do half 3 times. So I can break it down like this, and so I know I'm going to have 21, and then 1/2 times 3 is 1.5, right? Half of 3. And so it's going to be 22.5. And that's going to be inches squared. Remember, with equivalent fractions, all we're looking for is to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same factor. So let's do times 2. Let's have fun, do times 5, and let's do times 8. You know, you can do times 2, times 3, and times 4, but just going to show you that these are all equal. So 1 times 2 is 2, and 3 times 2 is 6. So 2 6 is equivalent. 1 times 5 is 5, and 3 times 5 is 15, and then 1 times 8 is 8, and 3 times 8 is 24. So 5 15ths, 8 24ths, 2 6, they're all the same as 1/3. So I'm sure on number 9, maybe this was supposed to be a coordinate grid over here, and there was some mishap. But remember, we don't need that to find distance between points. So let's zoom in and play with this a little bit. Remember, we're looking for a coordinate that's the same. Our x coordinate's either the same or our y coordinate's the same. Now, when you get into further math, you'll have to find points, distances that are different than just being the exact same x or the same y. But for now, same x, same y. So here you can see -4 means that both of our numbers are going to be 4 units to the left of 0, right? One of them at 4 up and one of them at 3 down. But they're both going to be the same distance from 0 to the left. And so they're going to make a straight line. And if this one is at -3 down, and this one's at 4 up, then we just need to find the difference between 4 and -3. That's what we're looking for. How far is it from 4 and -3? Well, to get from -3 back to 0 is +3, right? And then another 4 up, so it's 7. They're 7 units apart. So we don't need a coordinate grid. We can just find the distance between the two coordinates that are different, right? Our x's are the same, so we compare our y's. If our y's are the same, we compare our x's. All right, this is our dirt question. Distance equals rate times time, so we can use our formula, distance equals rate times time, to find our missing amount, which is how long did he drive, our time. We have our distance, which is 256, so we can plug that into our formula. We have our rate, which is 64 miles per hour. We know it's the rate because it's the per something. It's distance and time put together. And that's going to be 64t equals 256. So we're just going to divide both sides by 64. Right? So this is going to be 256 divided by 64. 2 64s is 128, and 128 and 128 is 256. So t equals 4. And that's 4 hours, since our time frame that we're using comes from our rate, which is miles per hour. So the time would just be hours.